What's up, guys? Welcome to the Line Change. In this video, we're going to be talking about a possible Canucks trade target. Now, this is a bit of a wild card. This is more of a speculation, rumor that's come out the last couple of days. And it is, of course, in regards to Anaheim Ducks forward and winger Troy Terry. This has come up in the last couple of days as a potential target for the Vancouver Canucks. Again, take this with a grain of salt, as there's some discrepancies in regards to whether or not Terry is available. But we're looking at an article from our friends at Canucks Army that go into detail about this. But before I do that, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you see behind me there. So Gassy Jack Art, you can check him out at gassyjackart.com. He still has his end of season sale going on where you can buy 4 prints and 2 of them will be for free. So go ahead, check him out at gassyjackart.com. But let's get into this article from our friends at Canucks Army, written by Stefan Roget. And he basically goes on to, talk about, this being a rumor and, whatnot. And he highlights a tweet from Andy Strickland, who is a St. Louis Rinkside reporter, who tweeted out that he heard Troy Terry is available from Anaheim. He would later go on to reply to his own tweet, basically saying that the Anaheim Ducks had reached out to him and informed him that Terry is not available. Strickland would go on to clarify that the original info had come from another organization and left open the possibility that maybe the Ducks were quietly shopping Terry and didn't necessarily want this to be out in the public. So let's go ahead and look at this. Stefan Roget goes on to mention that, while there's no way of verifying whether or not this is true, false, or entirely made up, but one thing that they can verify is that if Troy Terry were actually available, he'd instantly become a premium trade target for the Vancouver Canucks in their search for more top 6 scoring. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about Troy Terry himself, the player. Terry has grown up a fair bit since he was a clutch shootout performer at the 2017 World Juniors. He's 27 years old and will be turning 28 shortly before camp opens up on the 2025-26 season. At 6 foot and 191 pounds, he's right below average size-wise. He's a right-shooting right winger, just a slightly rarer commodity than the other variety. Terry has also developed into a consistent producer of points through also one with lingering questions of potential still as of yet untapped. A 5th-round pick at 148 overall in 2015, Terry had made a name for himself at the World Juniors, but still remained a prospect with an uphill battle to make the big leagues. He snuck in 2 games the tail end of the 2017-2018 season after concluding his college career with the University of Denver, and then split both his rookie season of 2018 and 2019 and his sophomore season of 2019-2020 between the Ducks and the San Diego Gulls of the AHL. The pandemic season of 2020-2021 saw Terry arrive full-time but only managed 7 goals and 20 points in 48 games. Then came the 2021-2022 season and Terry's official breakout. At the age of 24, Terry put down 37 goals and 30 assists for 67 points in 75 games. Oddly enough, they're numbers that Terry has never quite replicated. Following year, for 2022-2023, Terry dropped to 23 goals and 61 points in 70 games. Year after, he was down to 20 goals and 54 points in 76 games. Then for the most recent season, 2024-2025, Terry stayed level at 21 goals and 55 points in 77 games. There are 2 ways to look at his scoring history. One is that Terry's scoring has trended downward, and that's true enough. Another is a downward trend or not. Terry has turned himself into a consistent 50-plus point scorer with the proven ability to score a little more than that under the right circumstances. But the most important perspective to take here is the one with context, and that context says that Terry has had to really round out his overall game for the Anaheim Ducks. As someone who was at the earliest frontier of the Anaheim rebuild, Terry has quickly become an elder statesman for the ever younger Anaheim Ducks. He's taken that responsibility in stride by diversifying his offensive contributions, tightening up in his own end, and earning an A on his sweater for the past 2 seasons. You won't find much evidence of his two-way transformation in Terry's stat line. His analytics have often hovered. Just gonna quickly check something here. Where was I? Have often hovered just below the 50% threshold, as they did in 2024-2025, with a 49.35% Corsi. A 49.04% shot share, a 48.29% expected goals rate, and a 47.11% control of the scoring chances. But sparkling analytics are hard to come by on non-playoff teams, and the Ducks haven't been a playoff team in a while. And for the majority of their young talent, the on-ice job is often just to score, but for Terry, it's to score and defend. He takes on both a top 6 offensive deployment and the toughest defensive matchups of any Anaheim forward. Terry was the Ducks' top power play minute receiver in 2024-25, and while he took a step back on the penalty killing front, he's been a major contributor there in the past. In short, this is a player who has been asked to do a lot by the Ducks over his first 4 full seasons in the NHL, and who has, for the most part, done it. Let's take a look at what it might potentially cost to acquire Troy Terry if he were available. Put together everything we said in the last section, and you'll understand why some, and not just those in the Anaheim organization, are skeptical about Terry's availability. At the very least, it's enough to know that even if he hits the trade block, Terry won't be available for cheap. First, you probably have to figure out why Anaheim might be willing to trade him in the first place. It's not cap space. The Ducks have some $32 million on hand for the 2025 offseason already, and Terry is on the books for another 5 seasons at a $7 million cap hit. He signed that deal 2 years ago, and some would argue that he hasn't quite lived up to that salary since. But at the same time, with NHL salaries set to skyrocket, Terry's deal is going to only look more reasonable as time marches on. No, if Terry is moving, it's probably more of a roster management maneuver. The Ducks acquired the 34-year-old Chris Kreider, presumably with the intention of adding him to their top 6 forwards. That group already includes young names like Leo Carlsson, Mason McTavish, Cutter Gauthier, and Trevor Zegras. Also on hand are vets like Brian Strome, Frank Viterno, Alex Killorn. Some prospects like Bennett Senek, probably mispronounced that, apologies for that, are on the way sooner rather than later too. And then yes, there's Terry. He's both the most expensive of the bunch and a little redundant, especially when it comes to scoring. That first group are all thought to be players somewhat on the upswing. Terry could be perceived as one reaching the zenith of his own prime. The Ducks are looking to trade Terry. We imagine it's to clear space in their forward group for the younger players to grow and save some future cap for those younger players as well as eventual contract extensions and to cash in on a value asset before it starts to depreciate. So what would that leave them looking for? Anaheim is still relatively flush with draft picks, so that's not a major priority for them. They'd certainly take a look at the Canucks' 15th overall pick, but it's probably not their first ask. Forget about any interest in the Canucks' plethora of great solid D prospects too. The Ducks have one of the brightest future blue lines in the NHL, and they're already loaded all the way up there. We imagine the general thrust of Anaheim's activities this offseason will be to become a better on-ice team with the hope of moving back closer to a playoff position. On that note, they could be in the running for Mitch Marner. More on that in just a little bit. On that front, we must consider a swap involving Terry and Connor Garland. The Canucks' winger is a year older and has produced at a lesser rate than Terry over the past few seasons, but is also cheaper and could be seen as having a greater on-ice impact. For as good as Terry has become defensively, Garland is definitely better, and Terry cannot hold a candle to Garland's peskiness. The Ducks would be trading the overall better player and sign for longer, but they'd be getting back someone who could maybe make a more of a difference in 2025-26, and who certainly seems more likely to sign an extension in Anaheim than he is in Vancouver. The Canucks probably need to include a sweetener in the exchange, but perhaps not a major one. Another name the Ducks could covet is Jonathan Lekramacky, as a young, mostly NHL-ready sniper able to be paired with any of their young centers. From where we're sitting, however, the Garland approach should probably be their preference, if their preference is to move Terry at all, that is. Let's take a look at how Troy Terry would maybe fit in this Canucks lineup. Canucks need scoring, and Terry provides it. At the very least, he's putting up 50 points, and were he to have some of his defensive responsibilities lessened in Vancouver, one could imagine him getting back toward those heady 37-goal days. Terry also offers the Canucks the chance to add offense to their roster without sacrificing any defense. Terry would come in as a potential Brock Besser replacement. While he's not quite the goal-scoring equal there, he's at least as good as Besser is in his own end, if not better. At 5 more years of $7 million, we'd also hazard a guess that Terry's remaining contract is less than whatever Besser is about to sign as a unrestricted free agent. Without knowing who the Canucks are going to target as their 2C, it's hard to say exactly where Terry would fit into the lineup, but we really like the option of placing a defensively sound right shot on Elias Pettersson's wings. As much as Pettersson's offense has wavered, he hasn't really lost a step defensively. If his own production can bounce back, Pettersson and Terry would make for 2/3 of a top 6 line. They can also handle matching up with opposing top lines, and that's something of immense value. Age-wise, Terry aligns a little better with the Canucks' core than he does with Anaheim's, as has been the case with each trade target we've discussed. The price tag is key here, and while this is a player worth pursuing, the Canucks do not have the assets on hand to really overpay for any of their targets. If Terry is indeed available and a reasonable cost can be agreed on, the Canucks should be very, very interested. If not, they should move on to a target for which a reasonable cost can be agreed upon. So that's Troy Terry, article on Troy Terry. I will, of course, leave a link to the article itself in the description down below. You guys can take a read for it yourselves. But my initial reaction to this potential possible trade target is it makes me wonder if Anaheim would even want to get rid of Terry. Obviously, there's also, I mentioned, them being in the Mitch Marner sweepstakes. If they already got Kreider, which may necessarily bump Terry down on the depth chart, or at least in the lineup. If they were to go out and get Mitch Marner, that would bump Troy Terry down even more, as Marner is a right winger. And I just don't imagine Marner playing on the third line, or maybe even the second line. You would think Marner would be a first line winger, and then perhaps Kreider would be a second line winger. And then you have Terry. He might be the odd man out if they were to acquire Mitch Marner and have Chris Kreider. So that is one thing. I do like Terry as a player. I do think he could be a good fit with the Canucks. I'm unsure about, swapping Garland for Terry, as I obviously love Garland, the player, and would hate to lose him. But, if Terry is able to give this team some more goal scoring, that would be fantastic, obviously. But I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you guys think Troy Terry, if he is available, could be a potential Canucks trade target, one that we maybe haven't really even talked about a whole lot? Could he be like a wild card when it comes to a trade target? Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date on all Canucks content, on all your Canucks content, whether that's the Abbotsford Canucks or the Vancouver Canucks, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find us on social media. Find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. Find us on Instagram at The Line Change. Find us on X at Line Change Man. Find us on TikTok at the.line.change.po. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. And if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. on Spotify. Once again, feel free to give us a follow as well as rate and review us. But that's going to do it for me in this video. Once again, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about Troy Terry being a possible target, and the rumor of is he available, is he not available. If you were the Anaheim Ducks, would you be willing to part ways with Troy Terry, especially if it meant you had a chance at Mitch Marner? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. But before I go, let's go Canucks. Let's go Abby Canucks. Big game tonight. Let's get another win. I'll see you guys in the next video.